Welcome to Influence Matters. I'm your host, Clara Rose. Each week, we talk about crafting your message and other matters of influence, or sometimes we have a special guest who is making a difference in the world around them, and I think you might be interested, so I bring them on to share with you. Either way, if you're building a business, ministry, cause, or brand, you are in the right place, my friend. Today, do not have a guest in the house, so I'm just going to drop some knowledge on you, and we're going to talk about influencing in two ways. So the show is all about influence, right? We're always talking about influence and matters of influence. Today, I want to talk about the difference between being an influencer and being a person of influence. They sound like the same thing, but I promise you they are not the exact same thing. First of all, let's talk about what influence is. We probably have a preconceived idea of what influence means, but at its core, influence is just the power to affect actions, beliefs, or behaviors of others. Often it is in an indirect or intangible way. So it's about having an impact on someone or something, causing a change in their thoughts, feelings, or actions. So when you think about influencing somebody, think about it from that perspective, having some sort of an effect or impact on usually their thoughts, feelings, or actions. We want to get them to do something that we think that they should do, but it isn't about manipulation, or it shouldn't be about manipulation. Truthfully, out there in the world, sometimes we do see influencers or people of influence who are manipulating. And here's my savvy tip for you about that. The ability to influence comes with great responsibility. So we can influence people in a good way or in a bad way. I'm just saying be careful about how you use the ability to influence. Now, we don't all have equal ability to influence, but we do all influence somebody. So perhaps if you're a parent, you have influence over your children. You have the ability to affect how they behave to a certain extent, right? But their beliefs and the behaviors, at least to a certain extent. The same is true of the people who are surrounding you in your business or in your ministry or your brand, the people that you rub shoulders with every day in the world. You do influence them in a positive or a negative way, whether you intend to or not. And that's not necessarily the kind of influence we're talking about today, but it is a very real thing, right? We are influencing those around us all the time. Let's talk about influencers or influence. So, an influencer it could be a charismatic leader who's inspiring some sort of a movement. You could probably think about somebody just off the top of your head that you see as a charismatic leader who is inspiring a movement of some sort. So, the mastermind that I'm currently in this year, Brooke Thomas, she's absolutely a charismatic leader, and she is inspiring a movement of women who faith-based women specifically who want to make a difference in the world, right? We're making an impact, she calls it. And her new book, Activating Your Impact, is just built on that entire premise. She is definitely a charismatic leader inspiring a movement in the world, in our world anyway. It could be a powerful figure who's influencing a policy decision. So you might think about somebody in the political world, although I do not talk politics ever. I'm not a politic fan. I hate politics. That's the truth. I don't love to talk about it. And so I just avoid it. It's too polarizing. I just don't have any interest in most of it. Thankfully, my husband keeps me informed. Otherwise, I wouldn't even know what was going on in the world around me, but he's on top of those things. But those people can have a powerful influence over others in that world. Social media influencers are shaping consumer trends all around us. And this is the influencer that I was talking about, right? The influencer versus a person of influence. That influencer might, I have a Yeti cup, right? So if I was an influencer, which I'm not, if I was and people saw me using Yeti cup, they might go, "Ooh, I want a Yeti cup too," right? Or all sorts of products, consumer products in the marketplace they use influencers even to try and get people to do what they want them to do, which is buy their product. So those are those social media people out there who are influencing others, by showing off, here's what I'm eating today, here's what I'm wearing today. Um, I'm I don't tend to be sucked into those kinds of things. I like what I like. I want what I want. But I do occasionally catch myself paying attention and thinking, what do they got going on over there? Maybe what is that? Do I need that? A good example is um, for a really long time, I was very anti chat GPT or any of those kind of AI things. I think people could use them in a really wrong, a really bad way. And in the writing world, I think they're a tool, but they don't replace you actually writing for yourself and getting your own thoughts, right? Having your own original thoughts that you then put into your content or your book. But that was one of those things that I watched kind of from afar. I see other people using it, and I'm like, meh, right? I didn't want anything to do with it until I saw somebody use it in a way that made sense to me. And I'm like, an influencer of sorts, I guess, saying, I'm using this tool, right? So it's about your mindset around it, this tool to do this thing. And so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to try that out, right? And that was on social media, a person of influence is what I think of them as, um, affecting my behavior, making me change my position on something. So, good or bad, I change my position on, hey, this could be a tool that I could use in my own business, right? So, something to think about. That's the kind of power that social media influencers in particular can have. And then, of course, a good friend could also influence your decisions or your choices by, just being close enough to you that their thoughts and their beliefs and their feelings um, kind of rub off on you, or they matter to you in some way. So you can be an influencer in different ways. You can also be a person of influence in those situations. So I think of a good friend as not an influencer, but a person of influence. I also think of the parent, child, teacher, student, spouse, those kinds of relationships as being a person of influence in your life versus an influencer. So somebody who isn't connected to you personally, then I think that's what differentiates those two things. So, and my savvy tip around this, of course, is that being an influencer is very different from being a person of influence. We want to be a person of influence on others. Being an influencer, that might not necessarily be a personal goal of yours, certainly not a personal goal of mine. I'm not out to influence the world to think or do what I think or do, or to buy just from me. I want to be a person of influence that people can listen to, a trusted advisor that people can listen to, that people can turn to. Like, hey, I want to write a book. I believe that Clara can help me because I trust her. She is a person of influence in that industry, and I've come to know, like, and trust, right? Just from consuming her content, watching her show. Right? I've been around for a lot of years now. Maybe you've been following me for 8 years. I don't know, but if you have, welcome back, my friend, to another episode. I'm glad you're here. Let's talk briefly about social influence. So, social influence is the ability to affect the masses, right? So, that's not the one on one, but the social. We talked about the influencers being those people. Could be the politician, could be the online pastor you watch, whoever that is in your world that's using um, social means to connect with you, to influence you. So social influence, or the ability to connect with the masses, mostly social media, can stem from perceived or real authority. So you might see them as an authority for whatever reason. Could be that they do have real authority, right? If they're in a position of actual authority over you, or it could be natural charisma. Some people have a natural ability to draw others in. Now that's not I don't think that's something that I guess you're born with it in a certain way. You have that ability just naturally. People are drawn to you. But I think it's also something that you can, a craft that you can work on, that you can hone over time. So long as you're using it responsibly, right? You're not becoming smarmy, or you're trying to manipulate people in a natural way. So you just have this charisma that attracts people, that just, we all know those people, right? You walk in the room and they're like the center of the conversation. You're just drawn to them for whatever reason. It's usually not that quiet person in the corner that you're drawn to. It's the one that's, making the waves, out doing something, that significant person. So uh, good or bad, you could be born with that personality. That might be something you have to work on, might not come naturally to you. But we can all work on having some charisma to a certain extent. If you're like painfully shy, or you're absolutely just not that person, that's okay, right? You can influence people in other ways. You can influence people with your book. As a matter of fact, that's one of my favorite tools. It's one of the reasons that I do what I do, right? That I help people to plan, write, publish, and launch their book, because I think that that's the best way to influence others. It's also the best way, the easiest way to do the work once and continue to influence others. Think about your favorite author, somebody who you, every time their book comes out, or maybe they've been out for years and years and they don't even put out new books, but you would buy their book no matter what, because you love the way they write, or you love the message, whatever that is out there. You see their book, you're like, oh, I have to have their book, right? They are influencing you from having done the work once. And that's truly the tool that I teach people how to create, right? That's the fastest way to create once, influence long term, generationally. Even I have some books that, although they're not probably bestsellers today, were at one time bestsellers, but the message is so good and so strong and still relevant to us today, that I go back and reread them. I realize not everyone rereads books, but I'm a tangible book person. I love to have the actual book in my hot little hand, and I have stacks of books that are waiting for me to read them, and stacks of books I've read that I'm going to go read again, because I'm that kind of nerd. But that's work that person did once to influence people for generations to come, or for their audience, whatever the reason they created it. And it is still out there doing the work long after they're gone, because they did a quality book. So that's my absolute favorite way to influence others, to socially influence others. You certainly can be that person that gets on a stage, and that recording then lives on. Or you might be a speaker who goes to different events and speaks, and then that doesn't live on in the same way unless they've recorded it. I think of people like Jim Rohn, or some of those really greats. I listen to that stuff over and over again, because it's just gold. It's just good. It's true for all time, right? You can just keep listening to it, keep consuming it. Long after they are dead and gone, their words still live on. And those are my favorite social influencers. They're making a difference in the world even after they're no longer in the world. So my savvy tip around the social influence, of course, has to be the person of influence who makes a difference in the world around them, right? Don't be smarmy. Don't be that social influencer who's just doing it for manipulation purposes, to sell their thing, to make their buck, make themselves wealthy, even at your expense, or the expense of the person, the consumer that they're trying to influence. And then, of course, this might not be true in everyone's life, depending on where you land in the spiritual world, in the faith based world. But there is a spiritual truth, whether you believe it or not, that our actions and words they impact others, and that in fact that the scriptures warn against uh, the corrupting influence of evil and encourages positive influence of good choices and godly character. So if you are a person of faith, I'm assuming that you want to be a positive influence. You want to make good choices and to have a godly character. And that's the spiritual truth. We all want to be that good person that's making a positive impact on the world. So the truth is that influence can be used for positive or negative outcomes. And my savvy tip for you, my words of wisdom, I guess, would be use it wisely, right? Make sure that what you're putting out to the world does have positive outcome, that you're not using it for in a negative way or for negative things. So actually, I have to give credit where credit is due always. I was in a coaching call with one of my mentors, a business mentor, which I have mentors for most everything. And I encourage you to do the same as well. If it is not your wheelhouse, if it's not your zone of genius or whatever it is you want to call it, go get a mentor, someone who that is their wheelhouse, that is their zone of genius, and pay for that service, right? Pay for someone to help you with that. So, my business mentor, one of my business mentors, this last week, I think it was this last week, said a person of influence is very different from an influencer. So, I just want to leave you with that thought today. Right? If you walk away with nothing else, that you might stop and look at who you are in your business, ministry, cause, or brand, and how you are influencing those around you. Are you being a person of influence? Are you being an influencer? Is it important to you to be an influencer? Are you trying to affect social change? Right? Do you want a strong social influence? And ask yourself why. Is it because you are looking for popularity? Is it because you're looking to convince people that you're right and they're wrong? Right? What is it that you're trying to do with your influence? Because if you're just trying to get people to follow you for the sake of following you, so that you can hit a million, followers or subscribers or or whatever it is that you're doing, maybe it's the absolute end result is about a dollar value, right? I need to influence millions of people so that thousands or hundreds of thousands of people will buy my product and or service or whatever it is you're selling, because I'm trying to be a millionaire, I'm trying to get rich, or whatever it is. So I think it is healthy to just sit down for a moment and think, okay, am I trying to be an influencer and affect social change for the sake of social change? Or am I trying to create something for myself in the long run? Or am I trying to be a person of influence because I'm trying to build a legacy, leave a lasting legacy? Am I trying to leave something for my children? What is it that I'm trying to accomplish? I think all of those things are just good, healthy questions for a human being, not just in your business, ministry, cause, or brand, but just as a human in general. I think that's a healthy thing. So just sit down and ask yourself some of those questions. And then if you're going to be honest with yourself and say, yeah, I want to be an influencer, and here's the reasons why. I'm like, okay, no judgment from me, right? That's not what I want to be. I want to be a person of influence. I don't care if um, I don't want to influence people just for the sake of influence. I'm not trying to influence people just for the sake of a dollar value. I'm trying to make a difference in the world around me because that's what resonates with me personally in my own spirit. I think that that's the godly character that I was talking about. I think that's, as a faith-based person, that's super important to me. But beyond that, I'm trying to help people get their message out to the world. And of course, because I'm a publishing company, I choose to do that with the written word. I choose to help people create their book so that they can use it as a tool for their business, ministry, cause, or brand to do whatever it is that they want to do, whatever influence that they're trying to have over the world, or, the bottom line, their pocketbook, or whatever it is, support their family, whatever it is they're trying to accomplish. I just choose to do it through the written word and through books. Some of the things that I hear, especially recently, some people have said to me, I really would love to have a book. I'm buying into what you're saying, Clara. Yes, I agree. It's the fastest way for me to do the work once, continue to influence people over the long haul, which for some people, that could be generating leads, organically, or, whatever their reasoning is. So I hear people saying this, and, but I don't know what I would write about, right? I have this business. What in the heck would I write about, right? That is an excellent conversation for you and I to have. If you're in that position, hop on my schedule so we can have a chat, because I can definitely help you with that. The other thing that I hear a lot is, gosh, Claire, I just don't have the year to pull that off. I don't have the time to pour into that. So what if I told you that 6 months from today, if we started today, 6 months from today, your book could be launched and out to the world, right? If you follow a proven system, a process of creation, planning, writing, publishing, and promoting, if you plan that out and you have somebody who knows what they're doing help you with that, 6 months from today, you could be having your book launch. You could be celebrating that milestone if that's something that you desire, right? So the excuse, I just don't have the time for that, is just not a valid excuse. In fact, if you are very busy and you didn't want to do the heavy lifting yourself, we offer ghostwriting services. So we could write it for you, right? We still have to get the content out of your brain, of course, but we could do the heavy lifting for you. So that isn't even a great excuse. So I always like to, at the end of every show, unless I run out of time, because sometimes I get chatty, I always like to give you an opportunity to connect with me and learn more about how you can become a person of influence, craft your message for the world, and get your message out there for your business, ministry, cause, or brand. And of course, one of the quick and easy ways to do that is to hop on over to our website and have a look at the Savvy Author Mentorship Program. It's absolutely the first of its kind to give you the full blueprint for creating a successful book, plus the education and the accountability to actually get the writing done. Unfortunately, the lack of accountability is where we often miss the mark on things. So having the professional guidance and a proven proprietary process will make all the difference in the world. And here is why the Savvy Author Mentorship Program actually works. It's because we help you to create the right book, right? The book that's going to do the job that you want it to do. Create the tool that you want it to be. Is it for generating leads? Is it for educating your current client base? Whatever you want that tool to do, it's important to build it from the get-go so you create the right book that becomes the right tool. Then capturing your ideas for the book is a big piece of the foundational part of writing your book. That brainstorm and blueprint process where we get all of your ideas out of your head and get them into your book. And then, of course, outlining your structure, getting your writing done, right? People don't realize this, but if you wrote 500 words a day, which is like 3 or 4 paragraphs, it's not a lot, 500 words a day, 5 days a week for 13 weeks, you would have over 30,000 words written. In 13 weeks, your book could be completely written if you could just commit to 3 or 4 paragraphs a day, 5 days a week. And I promise you it will happen even much quicker than that, because once you start writing and you get on a roll, you'll be surprised at how often you go over that 500 words. But I'm just saying, at a minimum, 3 or 4 paragraphs a day is going to get you there in 13 weeks. Of course, there is the formatting of your manuscript, and we are going to help you with that. Understanding how the publishing world works will help you navigate those waters. And then launching your book is, of course, something that people really struggle with. And we have a process in place for that. It's called the Savvy Author Spotlight. So we have a plan for all of the pieces of getting your book planned, written, published, and launched out to the world. So, no matter where you are in your journey, the Savvy Author Mentorship can help you get there, can help you take that idea from concept to publish and out to the world where it can influence others, make a difference in your business, ministry, cause, or brand. Okay, if you'd like more information about that, of course, you can go to craftingyourmessage.com/mentorship. And it's just going to spell out all of the things that come with the program, how the mentorship works, talk about the weekly accountability calls, talks about pricing, of course, and gives you an opportunity, if you'd like, to just go ahead and sign up for the next cohort that's coming out. Super simple. So ask yourself, am I striving to be a person of influence? Am I striving to be an influencer? Would having a book that I can build once and then use as a tool for years to come, would that make the most sense for me as I endeavor to be a person of influence or become an influencer, if that's your desire? Is a book a good option for me? I invite you to hop on over to the website and have a look. If you're like, yes, Clara, absolutely, I think this is a good solution, but I still have questions, you can hop onto the contact page and you'll see that you can actually book yourself directly into my personal calendar. Not my assistant, not another editor, but my personal calendar. And we can have just a quick 15-minute chat about what your goals are for your book, how you're trying to build influence, what kind of influence you're trying to buy. We can talk about whether a book is going to be a good fit for you or not. And then, of course, if your book is going to be a good fit for our company over here at Rosedale Publishing and the Savvy Author, if it is, we can talk about the next step that will work for you. All right, my friend, thank you as always for showing up here every week to hear what I have to say or see who I'm interviewing. I appreciate you. And I just like to remind you to be strategic, be intentional, and be savvy because influence does matter, my friend. See you next week.